everyone, and welcome back to Sandra's Spooky Season. For this video, I'm going to be talking about my first horror-themed board game, and this is Sub Terra. So in Sub Terra, you are playing as cavers that have been trapped in a cave and have to find their way out. So essentially, this is a tile placing game, and the approximate time that's given on the box is an hour, but every time I played it, it has been a range of different times, just because either one, we've failed and ran out of time before that 60-minute mark, or it's just taken us longer. So an hour is basically the approximate that you're looking at. It's no exact time, and of course it depends on how many players. So this game you can actually play with one player, or you can play up to 6 players. This is a cooperative game, so you're working together. So if you are playing by yourself, you still have 4 cavers that you must control. When you're playing with 2 players, you get 2 each. It's always a minimum of 4 cavers in the game. This is because it will help you place tiles quicker and get through the game before you run out of time. So essentially what you are doing, you're placing tiles that look like this. So you have a few different ones. So you'll always start with this one. So this one goes in the middle, and it's just got like a little different design so you can differentiate between them. Then you have the tiles face down and you pull them randomly. So you'll get cave-in tiles where you kind of have to stumble over the rubble. Tiles that could flood. This tile has kind of a cliff edge that you slide down, so if you need to get back up, you need to place a rope, which I'll come to later. You've got other cave-in tiles, which are generally normal tiles until you need to roll the die, and then if you roll, with this case, a 1 or a 3, that's when they become problematic. Other tiles similar do have different numbers. This one is your gas tile, which is the biggest pain in the ass in this game. And then you've got your horror tiles, which I thought was going to be a bigger problem than the gas, but I was very mistaken every time I play this game. You've got your other ones, which this one is more of a slide than the other one. And then you've got your squeeze tiles. So these ones are, there's no real danger. It's just when you're squeezing through, it takes 2 turns to get through the tile rather than the 1 turn. So you're placing these tiles. There is quite a few of them. I just pulled out one of each just to show an example. You also get tiles where there's nothing of concern happening in the game. So they just connect things and they're just plain tiles. Other things that you have are your hazards. So you have hazards like your cave-in that I was speaking about. That's when you have to roll the die. You have your tremor. So everyone rolls a die on this card regardless of where you are, and if you roll above a 4, you do not take any damage. If you roll less, then you take damage. Gas, if you are trapped on a gas tile when this is released, you lose 2 health, and if someone wants to come and heal you and help you out, this has to be gone. This is a little shit. When I was first playing, I'm like, oh yeah, no big deal. But sometimes you get the gas hazard twice in a row, and it's just no fun for anyone. You get your horror one. So it means horrors are released on the board. So you get these little figures for the game. So these are your horrors. If your character is within 7 tiles of the horror tile, so if the horror tile isn't on the board, it's not something you have to worry about. But if you have them, and a horror can spawn on this if a player is within 7 tiles. Also, if you have 3, you can get a maximum of 3 after you. So they're not problematic until you have more of the tiles down, and especially problematic if you've got 3 of the horrors close to one person, because the chances of them escaping is pretty slim. Because if a horror captures you, they take all your health. And then you've got the flood tiles, which if you're in the area that's flooded, it will remove health. Otherwise, you can move through these tiles, but they take 2 steps to then move through. Unless you're a diver, it's actually really good, convenient to have those flooded tiles. So when you're going through the hazards, you also get these little tokens that you put on top to remember kind of where you are. So you've got your gas token if the gas has been released, horror tokens if the horrors are about, and this token is actually to show whose turn it is at the start of each round. So when you first start off, for example, I could start the game and then you go clockwise, and then once everyone has finished, this token then goes to the person next to me, and then they start that round, and it keeps going until you come back and then you start that round. So this kind of to give everyone a chance to start the round and just kind of shake things up a little bit. So the goal of the game is to place all these tiles and get to the exit tile, and everyone escapes before the time runs out. So the time is based on this out of time card, which you hide under all the hazard cards. So you will have a pile of these, a pile of your tiles, you place tiles, hopefully you get out before this happens. And then based on how many people are out is the score you'll get. So there's gold where everyone has survived and have escaped. There's silver when only 1 person is left behind. There's bronze where 2 people are left behind. And anything past that, 3 plus survivor, cavers left behind, it's defeat, you lose. And there is 3 difficulties to pick from. So if you're starting out this game, you've never played it before, you're like, oh, this game sounds interesting, go easy. Whatever you do, go easy. Because even on easy, it's a bit difficult to get the hang of the first time. I played this game 3 times, and twice we have failed. And then I tried to play it by myself, and that was just a catastrophe. So I basically gave up halfway. I'm like, I'm not getting any of these tiles down. They're all basically dead. Just counting my losses. So there is easy, normal, and then, oh wait, nope, there's no easy. It's normal, advanced, or expert. So always go normal to start off with until you get used to the game, until you're playing with people that are used to the game, and then of course you can change that difficulty and challenge yourself. So there is always a minimum of 4 cavers. So if you're playing by yourself, you definitely want to start at the normal difficulty and definitely get the hang of it before you jump up to expert by yourself. So as a co-op game, you're working together. So while you're placing these tiles, you want to say, I'm placing these tiles and I'm going this direction. Hopefully I can connect to this person that is going around that direction, and then we can place tiles on both sides. So basically every person will have an action phase. So this is when you're moving or placing tiles after the action phase that everyone has done. That is when the horror phase moves. So each horror will move on the board if there are any horrors. And then you have your hazard phase where this comes in. So this will change after every person. So while you have gas and you're like, oh, we'll stay away from the gas tiles, and then there could be a flood and you're all trapped on the flood tiles. So it's never really safe to stay in certain hazards, but it's also something you can't really avoid. When I was playing it, the amount of times we all got stuck in gas and then suddenly we got attacked by gas is just astounding. Like, you cannot guarantee a safe route. And then you move the marker for the next person to start. So the game ends when either everyone has escaped. So when this tile is placed and everyone has escaped. So to guarantee the length of this, you always take this tile plus 5 other ones, shuffle this in to the last draw pile. So you shuffle it anywhere, you put it off to the side and use all the other tiles first and then come to that. So the finished tile could be on the very top, which I can't believe it was, or it could be on the bottom, and you don't know that for sure. So the goal is, once the finish is placed, all cavers need to get together and exit, and you only have a certain amount of time to do that because of the hazard cards will run out. So you want to spread out so you can place as many tiles as possible, but you don't want to spread too far from each other because you can lose health from many things. A lot of the characters only have 3 health, so you can easily lose them. And if that happens, the only way for the caver, technically you don't die, you become unconscious. The only way for you to be revived, woken up, is for another caver to come to you. So these are then used by action points. So every caver gets 2 action points. You can then choose to exert yourself and give yourself an extra action point, but then you have to take the risk of injuring yourself. So you'll roll the die. So this is the skill check, which will come in handy with a lot of things you have to do. You always have to roll above 4 for the skill check. Anything under fails. Anything else above is obviously good. So if you exert yourself and roll less than a 4, you do lose health. So if you're only on 1 and choose to exert yourself, it's a very bad decision. But it also can mean the life and death of another character, because if you move and take 1 action and then want to heal them, which takes 2 actions, you might have to exert yourself. And if you're the only person left alive and you don't think you could survive the hazard and you need to desperately revive someone, it's weighing that benefit. So that is kind of when the cooperation and the fear of the game, because I'm like, you may have to sacrifice yourself to get this person back, but is it worth it? Based on how many other cavers are alive, based on how many tiles are left versus how many hazard cards are left. Sometimes it is worth to exert yourself if you have more than 1 health. It's very risky if you have 1 health. The bodyguard character is the best because he has 5 health, so he can kind of go a little bit ham. So most cavers have the very basic actions, and with this game you actually get the cards printed out for every player, which I think is fantastic. So you get the basic actions explained. You get the hazard actions explained on this card. On this card explains all the different cave tiles on both sides. I'm not sure how well you can see that. And then you've got your hazard cards explained and the round structure. So everyone gets a card of the basic actions, and there's only about 3 or 4 of these printed, so you kind of share them in the group. But that's a brilliant idea. It helps people keep track of what they have to do each round, and it doesn't mean you have to keep pulling out the rule book and going, oh, I'll flick through, and it just takes a lot of time. So it's very easy when you've got those cards printed. So your basic action is you can reveal the card. So you reveal the tile, but it doesn't mean you move. It just means you reveal and place it. You can move to any tile that's already been revealed. You can explore, which is usually the most suggested one, but then you also have to be wary. So explore is when you reveal and move instantly. So it only takes 1 action. But if you do that and then you land on gas, or you land on flood, or a cave-in, or even, well, the dangerous ones are there, horror, and then that hazard is released, it's kind of like, oh shit. So you kind of have to be wary of them. Other ones you can run, which is 3 spaces, so it can take you, but it takes both actions straight away. And heal takes 2 actions, so you can heal yourself. If you're on 1, you can heal yourself. The hazard actions, you can swim, you can squeeze, you can dig. So they will take 2 actions. Place a rope, so you get little ropes you have to place. So this takes 2 actions, but you also have to roll above a 4, which one of my friends tried to place a rope, and 5 times in a row he rolled a 1 and basically rage quit the game. So sometimes you can be very unlucky, and it was kind of hilarious at one way, but at the same time we're like, we really need this rope to get back together. So yeah, that can be frustrating. You can also hide if you're close to a horror and you think they're going to come get you. That takes 2 actions and you roll. Horrors will always move to the closest caver unless you have that special ability. So certain characters have a special ability where horrors won't be attracted to them. When a horror gets you, it takes all your health, but you can be revived. But obviously if you're being murdered and then the horrors are still after the next caver, if they're within 7 tiles, you kind of don't want to go rescue that person until the horrors are gone. With the hazards, if there's a tremor, you do a skill check on your health. Flood instantly takes 1 health, gas takes 2, cave-in takes 3, I believe. I think it depends on the cave-in or what you roll, and horror equals death. So the best tips of this game, never stray too far from each other. You need to go far enough so you can place as many tiles as possible, but you also have to stay close enough that if you are in danger of dying, they can help heal you. If the exit tile is placed, you can get there quick enough before the game ends. Don't stay on 1 health if you can avoid it. State your intentions very clearly. Do not say, oh, I'm going to stay, on this side, but then go on that side. And the rest of the cavers are like, oh, but we're meeting over here. Like, this is where I'm going to put the exit tile if I get it. Because if one person's over here and they get the exit tile, they obviously are going to place it where they are because that's where they have to place it. And everyone else is kind of screwed, where if they place it, then that one person's screwed. Don't linger on dangerous tiles. So if you're sitting on a gas tile and you're like, I'm going to heal myself, don't do it. Make sure you move to a safe tile first and then heal yourself. Sometimes it is necessary to sacrifice yourself if you believe that you can help this person and they can escape and they have something beneficial where you might actually die from helping them. Sometimes it's worth it, especially if they have a unique characteristic that will benefit the game. So this brings me to the cavers. Each caver has a different ability. So your diver, they don't lose any health when there's a flood, and they can use floods tiles to swim from one tile to the other tile across the board. So they are great when a flood is active, but otherwise they still have 3 health and a normal kind of character. You've got your scout, which this is the one that can't be chased by a horror, and if they do share a tile with the horror, they don't lose any health. So the horrors basically just don't care about this person. So they are great if someone's getting chased by a horror and desperately needs healing or something, because they can run in, heal the person and disappear. Next one is geologist. So this one, they can pick any tile and change, so they have it next to them and then they can change the tile if the tile they pull out they don't like. So say they go explore, it's their last active move and it's about to be a gas thing and they're like, I don't want to stay on gas, so they can change it. Or it's about to be a horror and they're like, I don't want a horror on the board, they can change it. So it does benefit if you remember to use that skill. The people I played with always forgot about it, so it kind of got wasted. Your other one is an engineer. So when there's a cave-in event, this person only loses 1 health and otherwise won't take the full damage like everyone else. This person also gets given explosives they can use. So there are some tiles where you only go one way, there's a wall blocking it. They can knock down that wall and create a new path for themselves. So that does come in handy. You've got your climber next, which they are able to move through the squeeze tiles and tiles containing rubble markers. So it doesn't take up as much of the action points as everyone else. And this one also allows you to place a rope much easier. So my friend really should have had this character. You've got your medic, which allows you to perform 2 move actions, and you can choose another caver on your tile to regain 1 health. So you can move 2 and then give them 1 health. So if you're a medic, you need to be the one to sacrifice yourself to kind of revive other people because it's easier for you. You've got your bodyguard, which he has a lot of health. He gets 5 health where everyone else has 3. Other cavers on your tile, so if you're sharing a tile with someone, they won't lose any health from floods, gas, cave-ins, or tremors. So this guy is super strong. He can also remove a horror on an adjacent tile from the cave. So this guy's great. I actually love this character, but I never get to play as him because we always like randomly pick the characters, and I haven't got him yet, but he's great. I love his health. You've got your leader. So this one allows you to choose another conscious caver and give them an action to perform. So if someone desperately need another action to be able to move away from the gas or something, you can help them do that. And you can also add 1 to your die rolls. So if you're rolling 3, you can add 1 and get that 4. So this one is a great one to use. It comes in handy. I liked playing this character. The other 3 characters I have are actually from expansions. So I haven't had a chance to play the expansions yet. I've only looked at them. But you've got your ancient character. This expansion adds, so it comes from the investigation expansion. It adds item tiles and new hazards called Doom. So basically the Doom hazard makes the current hazard last twice. So usually it just lasts the 1 round if you're playing it on the normal difficulty. When you're playing on the expert, you can get cards that come with ×2. But generally it will be 1, but if you get Doom, it then makes that hazard go ×2 anyway. They are also able to return an item you've discarded. So if you've used an item or discarded, you can then get it back. So I haven't played with them yet, but they sound like an interesting character. You've also got Mercenary, which comes from Extraction expansion. So this adds leapers to the game, which is a new kind of horror. This one, the leapers move quicker. And it adds a sanctuary tile. So this allows the cavers to go to this tile and remain safe if the leapers or horrors are close to them. And it adds a new goal to the game. So you can have these extraction samples. The cavers then have to get these samples to safety. And then whether you get the samples out determines whether you pass the game or not. So this person can perform 2 reveal actions. If you're playing with the samples, the goal is basically protect these people, let them out at all costs. Everyone else sacrifices themselves to make sure those samples are out. I haven't played it yet, but it sounds pretty intense when you read through the book. And the last one is Exterminator. So he comes from Annihilation expansion. This is set after the game. So he is actually coming back with a team after the other cavers have left. And their goal is to destroy the cave. So he comes with little bomb tiles and cards. There is more cave-ins that will happen. And it adds a new goal to the game as well, which I believe is to destroy the cave. I did read it, but I don't really remember too much. But this guy doesn't lose any health from gas, and that's why I love him so much. So you get 8 people from the original, and then I've got the 3 expansions, which I haven't had a chance to play myself, but I've read through them and they sound extremely fun. So your base game comes in this box. I have reorganized this box to kind of fit more better in it. There was an insert that kind of held things, but I didn't really like it. I also made it so I could fit the graphic novel in, because I bought the graphic novel. So this kind of tells the story of why they're in the cave. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it sounds incredibly interesting. And I like having a backstory to the game. I know most people are like it's just a board game, but I do like having that backstory. I've also made room in the box so I can add the expansions when the time comes. At the moment, I'm kind of keeping them separate. So the expansions come in a box like this. The other 2 I've gotten rid of, and I've just put the expansions all in one box just so I can contain storage, because the amount of board games I already own is pretty large. So if I can restrict space, it's great. So I've got all the expansions together in this box. Once I learn the game and remember off by head of what tiles belong to what, I'll just put them all in the one box. But it's a good size just to keep all the expansions together. I was really hoping that you could buy a storage box and just put everything together, but they haven't done that just yet. Each of the characters come with these little tokens as well of what the characters look like. So they're just little colored things. You get little stickers that you then place on them. So they're not the best stickers in the world, and you put them on yourself. So mine are probably wonky, but you can kind of see that that one has a little bag. So you do get them, but there's also little miniatures you can buy. That's probably going to be my next purchase, though that just seems to create even more stuff that might not fit in that box. I really want to contain in the one box, so maybe I'll behave and not do that. But there is a lot of little things. When you get the game, you get the little cardboard cutouts, which I decide that I'm going to use. I've just put them in this little bag myself. But you've also got the little plastic ones. So the game already gives you kind of more stuff than you need. So you can choose whether you prefer the cardboard cutouts or if you prefer the plastic. So these are the other things you'll be using when there's a water tile. This is your flood tiles to represent that there's a flood. This represents there's a cave in. These represent your health. So there's a lot of little things that you don't really want to lose. So it's kind of beneficial to just have it all in the one box. Invest in lunch bags or little paper bags if you can find them. And they will be a lifesaver if you're really into collecting board games and you don't want them to fall out everywhere and create a mess. This is an extremely fun game. It is also very challenging if you're not used to these kind of games, if you're not used to cooperative games. But it's also great that you can play it by yourself. I really love games that you can play by yourself because sometimes it's really hard to get to the group together. And when you can only play so many games as well. So I highly recommend this game just because you can play by yourself or you can play with 2 up to 6 people. If you're into expansions, you can add to it when you get bored. I'm not going to be bored because every time you play it, it's always going to be different just because it is a tile placing game. The hazards are always random. I just pulled out one of each, but there is multiple and you just have a deck. And depending on what difficulty you pick, based on how many cards are in that deck. This game is not suitable for people who hate working in groups because you do have to work together. And it's not suitable if you can't handle a challenge. This game is challenging, especially if you're trapped in gas. It can be frustrating. Planning ahead and making smart decisions will definitely be on your side and help you out with this game. And I just really love this game. I really enjoy the design on the cards and tiles. I believe it's worth the price. So the retail price is $69.95. I think it's a great value for money, especially if you're into kind of the horror aspect of it, if you're into kind of the games that have a backstory. So there is a reason their cavers are in this cave. And it kind of reminded me a lot of the movie The Descent. So you can kind of draw into that if you're a fan of the movie. With all the expansions available in the graphic novel and minis, there is a lot more to add to the game if you're into collecting as well. So this is the first board game I have decided to review for my spooky season, Sub Terra. Definitely worth checking it out. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed my review of the game and that this has piqued your interest. Thank you as always for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you've played Sub Terra, comment below what you think of it, or if you've played something similar that you may recommend to me. That would be excellent. Thank you and goodbye.